Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Monday the 15th. I think this is where things kind of get interesting. Or maybe not. I don't know. But we're down. It looks like we got a couple of stuff we got to roll over. We'll do that in a second. Here we are. So you can see on Friday, we did end up closing down. They made a pretty good recovery, but... And then overnight, lower. They're trying to make a comeback, but no. So, so far, a little bit of a bounce, and even here, a little bit of a bounce, and it failing again. So things look pretty bearish. I'm just seeing a lot of COVID-19 resurgence headlines, and it does appear that the market is seeing a second spike in cases and is concerned about it. Coming over here to the treasuries, we can see that we're still up, not getting above 139 really, but we're still up there, and we continue to see flattening. So a bull flattener, which is not particularly great. And in fact, it looks like we might even go lower than where we were a month ago, which would be very, very negative. Gold's still not popping up. Gold continues to fail here. But I think that's because people are piling into the dollar. Let's see. Oil's a little messy. Oil is probably going to be messy this week. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. Okay, it looks like we need to... I probably need to roll over our currencies. Yep. Okay. So that puts us at 96.96 in the dollar index. They're close there, but not interesting. Oh, well, they might climb up there. Just a little flush there in the E when you push them down. How are you guys doing this morning? Let's turn on the text-to-speech. Excuse me. There we go, and pull over this as well. We do have some numbers today, right? New York Empire State Manufacturing Index and 5 minutes. We're looking for a reading of 27.5. We also got some bill auctions today. A number of other numbers that I'm not really very familiar with. Canadian manufacturing sales. So I think we got stuff. To do here. Existent being, happy Monday. Hey, thank you very much. Hope you guys have a good day. This is the kind of day that can be difficult. So we're gonna move our accounts over to experimentation here, because I tend to do poorly on Mondays. I shouldn't say poorly. I mean, lately I've been doing okay, but certainly not as well as other days. So I'm gonna be a little risk adverse here. Kind of let them battle it out, and honestly, I'm just not entirely convinced of anything in the market until the regular session opens. This is a really good chance that the regular session comes in and they just try and buy it up. We've seen that many times before. So in this kind of a situation. So and we are at yesterday's low was around 29.71. So got a lot going on here. Interesting. Blow my nose. All right. We got about 2 minutes here. While we're waiting, let's go on to the Twitter and see what we can find there. My headphones are a little off today. Well, that's just okay. Zero Hedge has been reinstated. Oh my gosh, and I'm getting them. They're showing up. Just a huge bear market rally. They ask stocks tumble on fears of second virus wave. That definitely seems to me to be the thing that's happening. What's Futures Trader 71 here saying? The ESF pace of roll appears to have stalled on Friday. This is very odd. Roll is lagging, which means that we would have to wait longer to rely on volume and volume delta. Why is that? Well, we've got this whole quad witching thing today, right? Or I mean Friday this week. That could be something. We'll just see when the when the open comes, what happens. Net speculative short positioning decreased significantly in the week last week in the 10-year treasuries. CJ option market begs to differ. Put call ratio at 1.5 plus every month in SPX and SPI. Money in treasuries and M2 never been higher. Equities under allocated overhedged. Part of what's fueling these squeezes higher. Look at open interest at 3,000 and SPY 3,000. Notice what happened there today. I think this is about the argument about whether or not this is from retail. Yeah, so there's this whole. Okay, wait, hold on. We got the numbers here. New York Empire State Manufacturing Index good, negative spot 2 versus an expected 27 spot 5. So pretty big beat there. Okay, well, that was a pretty good buy off of that news, but we came back pretty quickly. So where was I? Oh yeah. So there's this argument about how much or whether or not this bull run has been due to retail speculative interest. And there's a lot of metrics out there. I think it's impossible to prove how much. It's definitely a thing that's happening, but is it really the thing that's pushing it? I don't know. But the thing that I seem to be seeing is that the safe havens are not moving up. Well, even the dollar is moving up, but not that much, you know? Things in ES just don't look very good. So this could move up above here. I think that could drive some demand, but probably it would come up and drive back down and then maybe move higher. Mm. In fact, I think that makes this an outside bar. Okay. Well, it doesn't take much, does it? So I don't know if I feel comfortable taking a trade in this area. It seems like it's a little bit too easy for them to hit you around. Well, right here is where we would want to take it. 64. Let's try it. I'm all, oh, this doesn't look very good. But then it moved down into a pretty good risk reward location. So the treasury is reacting to that. Seem to be suggesting risk on. Okay. A little push higher. That's good. Fed said if economic activity remained weak due to various related disruptions, more businesses could fail, leading Two more temporary layoffs to become permanent. Tweets of Wall Street Journal's central banks. Oop, we need to turn this on. Oh, why is it not showing me? I see John sent some pictures, but why did it not show them to me over here? Good morning, America. What are we offended by today? Well, apparently, a man tried to resist arrest, stole the officer's taser, turned around to tase the officer, and so they shot him. And so everybody is up in arms about that man being killed. And that is the hot topic. This one's kind of interesting though, because like the guy like stole the taser, right? So the media, well, I don't even say the media. I can see a lot of reason or people trying to push this story, I guess, and turn it into the next big catalyst, but it's not really taking. I don't really see people talking about it. Probably because, he stole the officer's taser. Let me just check here. It is not running correctly. This is not running correctly. Something's wrong. Let's restart it. I must have stopped it. There we go.
Sunday driver says howdy. Existent being says happy Monday, Seth. Bots says good morning.
There we go. Now
Bots
it's
says
running. Now it reads some. So previous open is a spot. Oh wait, that was not the previous open. That was a previous open from some way back. Let's double check that. There we go. It's a pretty deep pullback there. I don't know if we're gonna get it. Turning at that previous low is not particularly encouraging. I think they're gonna make a few attempts to try and bust that. Let's see what happens. There's definitely some resistance there. Well, it's probably okay. I mean, if we were going for a second entry and we really still felt long, this would be the spot to do it. And I think that the fundamentals still kind of favor an attempt at least. So I think I mean, I don't know. I guess I should be really careful here because about what I say because I am still like really uncertain about action on Mondays. So, Zero Hedge. Chinese scientists escorted out of Canadian biolab sent deadly viruses to Wuhan. Ooh, what? Really? Well, looks like, yeah, looks like that one came all the way back. Somebody had been on my computer. My wife screwing everything up. Well, and they bust the downside of it too. Well, that is a potential setup, but it's one that when I back tested, it didn't do very well on the short side. It was way better on the long side. But that is like a short entry. Hmm. Donald Trump, I've done more in less than 4 years than Biden has done in more than 40 years, including for Black America. Biden has been a part of every failed decision for decades, bad trade deals, endless wars, you name it. He has shown a complete lack of leadership. He is weak and shot. Hmm. Try this again down in here. Train might be leaving without us.
Sunday driver says black people will not vote for Trump. Republicans keep chasing the will-o-wisp. They will never catch it.
Well, they don't need all of them to do it, dude. They just need enough. Even if 1% more voted for Donald Trump, it would be a significant win. And honestly, if any time was, well, I mean, I don't know anymore, but if you were gonna try, these would be the conditions to do it with Biden, with them picking Biden. Biden was probably the worst person they could have picked for that, which is kind of funny.
Sunday driver says black people are the voting bloc that put Biden in over the top.
Well, yeah, but you gotta remember that a lot of primary voters are not very well informed. So like when you get into the latter half of the primary season, which by which point it was already well over. And that's when people really start to get to know the candidates. So like a really good example was back in when it was John McCain, right? So did Republicans like John McCain? No, they didn't. A lot of people stayed home. There wasn't a lot of
Minster Games
enthusiasm
says
for him,
defund Black Panthers.
and there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for John McCain. And you gotta wonder, well, how did that he end up being the nominee? Well, he kind of crept up out of nowhere, which is kind of like what happened with Biden, right? If you start peaking at the right time, you kind of get this situation where momentum matters a lot, but the electorate doesn't really know you. So you can kind of slip in before they kind of really know what's going on. And so this is kind of what happened with Biden. So you get this situation where he becomes the nominee, and after he becomes the nominee, the Democrat Party is like really regretting it, right? This whole thing with the sexual assault and some of his very man, some of the quotes that Biden has said on race relations are really quite startling, right? Because you got to remember there was kind of this thing where the Democrat Party, well, they've always kind of been that way, but wasn't until after the 70s that the Democrat Party really tried to court the black vote. And guess what? Joe Biden has been in politics since before then. So you can find some quotes of him saying some pretty crazy things and opposing school busing and stuff like that. I really don't think that when it comes down to it, because again, you got to remember, even after the primaries, 80% of people don't really know anything about Biden. 80% of people don't know that he said, "I don't want my children growing up in a racial jungle." Right? 80% of people probably haven't heard that quote. So the damage that can be done is still out there and significant. I mean, there's a reason why before all of this stuff that President Trump was so heavily favored to win. I wonder if that has come down at all over the weekend. Because you can kind of get this thing where the trading markets aren't very liquid. Predicted. Well, they still have Biden at 58, which is way too high, frankly. But it doesn't look like it's really changed too much since they flipped. Oh, it's actually continuing. It's continuing to trend up, interestingly enough. Although Donald Trump does appear to have maybe come back a little bit, but that's happened before. Since the beginning of June, huh? Well, I think in order to see this switch, you're going to have to see the polls switch, right? So then we have to come over to real clear politics. So, like for instance, one of the things is that some of the tracking surveys still show Donald Trump winning a sizably more portion of black voters than past Republicans. Still, and if that, I think that is probably why in Florida he's in pretty well. Oh, look, even in this one, it's showing Biden plus 3.4 in Florida. Let's see. Oh, it's had him favored since April. No way. No way. Okay. In March they had him ahead. I don't know. I don't necessarily trust these polls, but you can see the trend in which ones are kind of states are more favored or less favored. If that moves, if black voters really do come out and start voting for Donald Trump, and there is some evidence that they are, that's where it would make Florida a lot easier for Donald Trump, right? But you still kind of got these ones like Pennsylvania. Oh, there's actually that. There hasn't been another one in Pennsylvania yet. I bet you we're going to get a lot of polling this week. Well, I hope we get a lot of polling this week. Maybe it'll tell us a lot more.
Treasury_trader says Biden 1.8, Trump 2.2. Bet quotes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really trust the polling until after conventions. By this time around, I don't even know if conventions end up mattering. 24-hour fitness files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. No, I never liked them. They're the ones that have the lunk alarm, right? Ugh. Well, they came kind of close there to filling me, but they didn't do it. They must be biding their time because the movement so far this morning has actually been pretty all over the place. Here between 70 and 64. You know, thinking on politics, one of the things is that the electorate can just move so quickly on things. Like that move to Biden at the end of the primaries was really quite something else. And we see things like that all the time. Like Kamala. One of the funny things was that Kamala Harris took down. Like we thought that Kamala Harris killed Joe Biden in the primaries, right? Because she attacked him on the school busing issue, and then she had a debate that wasn't, I guess, as impressive, and people didn't like that she was a DA, and then she fell out of favor that quickly. And you look back on it, and it's like, Kamala Harris probably would have been a better candidate than Joe Biden. I think in the current environment, it can just change so quickly.
Sunday driver says black voters revitalized Biden's chances. I am suspect about black voters turning out for Trump.
Sure, but ask yourself why. Why? Here's the question: why did black voters turn out for Biden in the primaries and win him those crucial states against Bernie Sanders? Oh wait, let you think about it. No, don't need this. Euro USD waffles back and forth as traders are unsure of the next run. Yeah, it's definitely doing that.
Sunday driver says because he was with Obama for 8 years.
Ding 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 ding. Not only that, but he also well, what was the other thing? Oh right. It wasn't just that. It was also that he was like the choice that they had was between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, right? If it had come down to the wire down in South Carolina was I think the big state where it mattered, right? If it had come down to Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden at that point, maybe it could have been different, right? But there's a bigger issue, which is that minority voters just really didn't like, well, I wouldn't want to say really, but for some reason never really took to Bernie Sanders. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but there's something about the base from Bernie Sanders and everything that they don't get along. They think that Bernie Sanders is racist, which is kind of like, okay, but Joe Biden's not. Okay. So I'm just saying, did black voters vote for Joe Biden because they really know him? Did they know that he said, I don't want my children growing up in a racial jungle? I don't think they did. I don't think they did. And so I think that more of those voters are up for grabs than normally would be. And you don't need a very big, like in a place like Florida, you don't need a very big turn. And I've seen a lot of people out of Florida.
Sunday driver says they didn't want Sanders giving benefits to other people than black people. They like being at the top of the totem pole in the Dem Party.
I don't know if that's true. That's a little unsupported. They've never liked Bernie for whatever reason. So they were building up there pretty good, and then it fizzled out again. We might just be stuck. Oh well, there's an okay up move. It's a good hammer. Now it's about halfway through the bar. Let's see what it does. That could be a hammer though. Okay, it ends up being somewhat of a doji. So this is a difficult spot to enter into trades in the E-mini. You could get you're getting a lot of whippiness. Oh my god. All right. From the Hill, New York Governor Cuomo, I can't think of a president who has been more irresponsible in allowing dangerous situations to continue. Pot calling the kettle black. Governor Cuomo, you have allowed the situation in New York with the riots to get completely out of control. Governor Cuomo, you are responsible for the deaths of thousands of people with this kerflunkle with the whole coronavirus in nursing home stuff. You shouldn't be in office. That was a really dumb thing to say. They're going to come after you so hard. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump is about to tweet that. Oh man, because Kumo, frankly, I think he's. It's funny that everybody was praising him. Oh, he's done stuff because he says the right things, but they made so many bad decisions. They made so many bad decisions. No question about it. What is he saying? He's saying that Donald Trump should bring the National Guard in and do what you won't do. I mean, what else? What else are we saying here? That one is interesting to me. Yeah, that one got me going. That one got me going because that just seems to fly in the face of reality so much. Okay. Well, they could bust up here, but I don't know. It's just really consolidating in this range. By the way, do you notice here pretty good distribution in the E-mini, but in the micros it's much more up and down. I follow the United Nations. Oh, okay. They never tweet anything useful. They gonna do it this time? 71? Well, last time around they went right to it, and this time they also kind of came short, but it was so fast. I don't know if it's a big deal. CNN Politics. Dr. Fauci says normalcy may not return until next year following COVID-19 case spikes. One of the things that I think, because I'm always taking it from like on a long term perspective, it's like here's a piece of news, here's where the market went to, here's another piece of news, and it comes back. So I'm thinking, okay, so we had a pandemic, we were up above 3,000, we come down, now we're in a recovery. When we come back, is the economy going to recover completely? And my opinion is no. My opinion is that there is going to be some slack for the next year or two, and that a lot of businesses aren't going to recover. And so, from that respect, should the S&P 500 be able to make a new high? And I say no. So if there was a little, if we lost a little bit of GDP, and in the end we had a quick V recovery, but not all the way, sort of a thing, then wouldn't that put us at like exactly where we are right now? Just a little bit below 3,000. So then maybe we could move a little bit further down, just because things tend to always overshoot. But then also maybe this is just fair value, and we just hover around here for a long time, you know? Yeah. Okay. Finland's government declares an end to emergency rule as COVID-19 pandemic eases. The treasury is kind of bottoming here. I don't know. So treasuries are kind of suggesting to me that they maybe want to try and make another move up. Um, the E-mini still not going for that 71. Maybe they're not going to do it before the open. So I think that original trade, scratching it, ended up being okay. Yeah, there's that freaking digger next door causing the house to shake. Feels like an earthquake. I'm pretty sure that it's just them dumping dirt. Amal Sinha tweets, out of the 170,000 CCP accounts, that's the Chinese Communist Party, accounts Twitter deleted, they published the data for 23.8 thousand accounts, which I analyzed. My take is they are not bots, but actual human beings reluctantly taking part in a troll factory. In this thread, I'll cover the specifics that really stand out. And they go through. I find this incredibly interesting. I'm going to keep reading it. 1. Tweet timings. The tweets from the CCP accounts almost exclusively tweet during work hours by Beijing time. 89% of the tweets are between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. For the control group of 58,000 tweets from 32 accounts in Hong Kong and Taiwan, that number was 37%. What it means is the average person is expected to tweet in their free time outside work hours. However, the CCP tweeters tweet almost exclusively during work hours, which indicates that this is possibly their full-time job. 96% of the tweets in the database are from a desktop/laptop, which is not normal. Wow, this number is 18.2% for the control people. So most people are doing Twitter from their phones. In fact, 98.6% of the accounts tweet from some sort of a web client. As John Hemmings rightly points out, these accounts retweet a lot. It sounds like they have a really good case for them being Russian, for them being Chinese trolls. Well, I think I might have gotten filled there at 63, but I don't like the trade anymore. Finally, something we have all seen, they often don't have a lot of followers. In summary, if I were to build a Twitter bot that identifies a CCP troll, I'd look at the percentage of tweets outside of working hours the client used and the percentage of retweets. Interesting. Wow, see, look at that. That's ugly. 61. See, 61 would have been like this. No, it wouldn't be the stop out, but and the treasury's ticking up there. But you kind of got a range thing going on over there too that I think would make me uncomfortable. That the level 2 over there is a little uncertain too. It looks like 5 years bid, but not sure. Something changed over there though. Booker claims that a GOP senator told him qualified immunity is on the table in a Senate police reform bill. I think that you're going to have a really, really hard time passing any kind of a law with the qualified immunity part taken out. How would you get police officers to want to be police officers? The pay is already awful. Now you're going to make it so that so that you're likely to get sued. I don't think that one's going to work out. Maybe there's some sort of a middle of the road solution in there. I don't know. That one's just kind of odd. Well, that they would say that, but I don't think that it's probably. Don't forget that it's so FX macros.
Someday driver says the left is insane and will do that because it's the present day virtuous thing to do.
They're showing the video of the E-Trade Baby Super Bowl ad, and they're pointing out that was in 2008, so the baby is probably 13 or 14 now. Okay, they're turning back up. We're kind of in my no-go time period now. I don't really like entering a trade. Well, I take that back. If I see them doing the right thing, I could take it, but not on a Monday. That's a really hard call to make on a Monday. If I was going to make that call today, it would be on a short. Because you'd have to be calling that on the open. They're going to ultimately push down. And are they just going to outright push down on the open right now? I don't know what the chances of that are. So it's probably better to wait for it to open and take one of those turns. Weird that I came here to ask if people had rolled yet. I was being too lazy to check volume, but I'm glad I'm in good company. What is with the roll this month? Is it because there's just a lot of newer traders and they're not rolling? I don't understand. Something's weird. That's weird. Maybe maybe this quad witching this Friday has something to do with it, and the fact that we've been up so much. Because a lot of people were looking at that quad witching as a potential turning point in the market. I feel sleepy. Trump can't even walk down the ramp. You seen this video of Donald Trump walking down a ramp, and then at the very end, he kind of like does a little bit of a hop and skip down the rest of the ramp, and everybody trying to show this as like his health being poor or something, and it just seems like such a non thing. Like it's not even very noticeable in the video. I thought it was really curious that people were paying that much attention to it. The Economist tweets, "Society prizes intelligence, but there is a dark side to
RJ Wheel
genius."
says it's dumb.
Well, that's politics, you know. I, I normally, you know, they must be running out of material, right?
Wonkatonking says, hey Seth, what did I miss on?
What did you
RJ
miss
Wheel says the
on?
drinking water thing a bit weird. Wonkatonking says, hope you had a good weekend.
They had a good weekend. I did take one trade earlier, from like 64 to, oh, where was it? It came up much short. Yeah, I took it at 64, but it did not. It just didn't go. I think it was down in here. So it was from like 64, and then it went up to 68 and turned back around, and so I scratched it. And now we're kind of in a bracketed market until the open. It's what it looks like to me.
Wonkatonking says, do you day trade options, or only the future?
I stick to the futures. You know, now that they have futures on options, maybe I might mess with that. But I think if I was going to mess with the options, I would want to have a much larger account to play with. Marketeer tweets beta at high, huh? We are entering this risk off with U.S. balanced mutual fund beta at multi-quarter highs. This could get interesting. So they're saying
Wonkatonking
that
says was
they don't
thinking
have
of
a lot
setting up
protection.
account with Tasty Trade. Been enjoying their video for a year.
I would really like to try their platform. I mean, you know, they made Thinkorswim, right? And then left after TD Ameritrade took it over and did a terrible job with it.
Wonkatonking says, yay, they made Think or Swim.
Well, did this change? Yeah, that did. This big 3,000 at 29.5. There's an auction today. There's some bill auctions. Wonder if they cleared that. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to sell the
Wonkatonking says, I would think that options you need a smaller account.
No. Because, well, it depends on what you're taking, but with those options, you're usually spending like $100 on a trade, right? And we're messing with trades where maybe you risk $20. Unless you know of a ton of options out there that are only worth 2 cents or whatever. At the money options that are only worth 2 cents, probably not, right?
Wonkatonking says, wow, I thought you play with thousands, not $20.
Oh, I keep it. I like to keep it as minimal as possible. I mean, maybe someday I scale it up, but even when I've been doing well, I've kept it low. Just because I don't know. I've never had a long enough period of profitability to really make me feel comfortable about like really starting to size into it, right? I think that I would need to be like 6 months. I think 6 months is the longest run I've had. But then you get into these periods like the summer, for instance, where I just don't like to trade because the conditions just aren't as favorable. But that was when I was taking treasuries. I've discovered that treasuries is very seasonal. And some of the trades that I should be looking for
Wankatonking says
outside of
I
that
play
season
$1
are
a
not.
point, but if you're catching 20 points on future or options, thought the margin on options are lower.
Well, the thing is options are usually like 100 lot, right? So if it's $1 option, then you're paying $100.
Sunday Driver says let's spitball this. We know that a few dislocations are in the works. I think 2021 is going to be awful for longs. What are some nice options to buy for that? They should be cheap right now.
Yeah. But the way that I like to look at it is like let's just say $1. There are options out there that are $1. Okay, so we could buy a call option for $100, right? Well, I want to be able to lose 50 times in a row. Okay, so 50 times 100, you'd need a $5,000 account. That's what you would want to be risking. So, yeah, I don't know. The other thing is that the time. I mean, the probably the bigger thing is that the time frame that I have to
RJ
trade.
Wheel says short real estate plays.
There you go. I think to do options, I would really want to be able to watch it all the way into the close, and I just don't do that. I just trade like this first 2-3 hours of the market and then be done. I think the futures is a much better setup for that.
Algo Lover says if sellers maintain offer below 3000.25, then 2898 target. If 3000.25 goes bid first, then anticipate squeeze higher nerd face. Wankatonking says most broker you need $5,000 account shouldn't be watching if you're not playing with more.
Yep. People who apologize publicly are not sorry for having done something wrong. They are mostly sorry for having been caught. Never apologize publicly is not something that I would expect Nassim Nicholas Taleb to say. A woman apologizes after backlash from confronting a homeowner. What did she do? Her and her husband confronting a man and threatening to call police because he stenciled Black Lives Matter in chalk on his San Francisco. Why would you complain about that?
Algo Lover says HAGD, thumbs up.
Yeah, they're not sorry. They're just sorry they got caught. He's right. He's right. They're not. They're not sorry. They're just sorry they got caught. Anyways, in futures, you could lose if you're willing to risk $5, right? Then you could get away with a $500 account, right? So if you have a really small account, you're better able to manage your risk in futures. The other thing is that the risk rewards and options are kind of are much skewed, right? Like if we were just going to be buying call options, then we're looking for things where like you're going to lose all of your money, and if you win, then you make a ton. And what's your percentage chances of catching those? And yeah, so it's a different risk profile. Whereas in futures, you can do things like what I just did there, where catch a good spot, you get some momentum, and then it's all practically risk free. I can just put my stop at break even. And the USDA reports that China bought another 14.3 million bushels of U.S. new crop soybeans over the weekend. This is the typical time when China makes new crop purchases as Brazilian supplies dry up. Okay.
Wankatonking says I am only buying puts, waiting for some of these stock to tank. Hold for 2 months min.
Okay. But you're probably taking on way more than $100, right? Mm, Thick Nicks. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. That was probably the wrong channel. Ew, veteran GOP poll talker Frank Luntz said last week that in my 35 years of polling, I've never seen opinions shift this fast or deeply. We are a different country today than 30 days ago. The consequences politically, economically, and socially are too great to fit into a tweet. But is it really so favorable
Sunday
to
driver says why not buy
Democrats?
puts that go out to several months to a year.
What about
Wankatonking
that would
says what is
change
the
anything?
PC in the background used for?
That's my son's PC. So it's a gaming machine. Kind of needs. I'm keeping an eye out for a better monitor for that machine. He needs a better monitor. That one is square. It's not even widescreen. I feel bad. I'm a bad father, guys. Just haven't found a deal that I liked. Police use of tasers are disproportionately African American. Oh, people killed by
Wankatonking
police use
says I
of
am thinking the
tasers.
move is going to happen before Xmas. No point buying past deck.
Well, I just I can't see that far away. At least that's not my realm. I'm focused pretty much on like the flows that are coming in today. Donald Trump, almost 1 million people request tickets for the Saturday night rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, but a lot of people request tickets and don't come, dude. I think that some Democrats are still thinking that if they sell it out, that they sell a limited number of tickets, and so they can sell it out, and then the Republicans won't show up. But it doesn't work that way. There's an unlimited number of tickets, and it's still first come first serve. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a bit of a sell there going to the open, but they were able to bring it back. Here's the open. Sellers trying hard, but I don't see a ton. How about that's just a few hundred. There's the buyers pulling it up without having the volume their way. Oh, look at that. So 71 is the spot. Ah, crap. Should have put that as a stop limit. Cool. Okay, well, they pierced the key point. They're consolidating a little bit. The cumulative delta overall still isn't quite positive, so I'd say that they're getting up there pretty easily, but they're not pushing it. You see a little bit of volume there around the 72 area that makes me nervous. Yeah, that's not good. Just random. It's just random. It should be like that. That's a little better. Well, they seem to be fighting me more than you would like. Hmm. Nope. I thought I saw a spot, but I think I was just seeing things. Right, they're likely to go and stop that one out too. Yeah. The delta overall is positive, though. That's interesting, right? No. Need to wait for a way better like that. Did it give me a bad spot? That sucks. It's clicking around a lot. I shouldn't have been as anxious to click into that as I was. Like, it was definitely telling me something, but I didn't have to act on it right then and there. Wow. That came back so fast. So what do we have to do to make that up? Okay, we're okay. Hmm. Zero hedge down dumps below 25K and gold sold. So why are they still selling gold? This is puzzling. Not surprising, but puzzling. I don't think it's a good thing. Okay, they're gonna bust this. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels good. Oh, baby. So I'm looking for somewhere in the 80s. Okay. So a little bit of resistance. It's 74 or so. Despite the new high. I think that they're going to push him again, though. Yeah. Stop him out. Do it. Yeah. Okay. So pretty good pullback there. Okay, so they're coming back to the 71 area. Should see some support here, and we do, but they're going to push through it anyways. You see the volume coming in there. Okay. Oh, are they already going to go up and bust that? That would be glorious.
Gary Rich says bye-bye rallies, the sky is falling due to reinfection rates.
You think so? They're doing okay this morning, though. So far. I think over the week that I think that a lot of sideways action would be warranted. You know, big sell day, big buy day, big sell day, and just kind of end up going sideways. That makes the most sense to me. But I also think that ultimately we should stay below 3,000 in the S&P 500. Okay, they did bust the high. So that was a very, very short-lived pullback. It was pretty deep, but I mean the range is pretty heavy here anyways, so okay. On that one didn't go. Well, they printed into
RJ
27.
Wheel says bears capitulate.
Sorry, into 29.79.
Vincenzo C. says if deaths don't occur, what matters? Infections?
Well, and see, this is the issue that I have with analyzing the coronavirus stuff right now is that it seems to me that we're definitely going to have another wave. It also seems to me that the virus is not nearly as deadly as originally anticipated, and that the stress on the medical system is not nearly as high as was originally anticipated. And so I personally don't think that further restrictions or a clamp it back down is necessary. But just because I think that, or even if we assume that I'm right, that doesn't mean that governments and people will act rationally, right? So they may still shut things down when they don't need to. I think that a lot of Democrat cities would be prone to do that. They seem to want to shut things down. Um, and and a lot of people may still stay home and not spend as much, which I think is very, very likely to happen. So that's where it's like I don't necessarily think that we need to have like another, fall apart, go and retest the lows necessarily. But I really don't think that under the current circumstances that we should be able to make a new all-time high, right? So, and the other thing is this whole retail. So this is a big part of the puzzle, but there's definitely more retail traders coming in, and a lot of them are pretty proud of themselves and think that they're great because they bought. But what is going to kill a retail trader? Is it really going to be like just a complete collapse and push down to the lows? I don't think so. They'll just buy puts. And how many of you are buying puts? Aria Sunday said that he's buying puts. So I don't think that that's the call. I think that if you want to destroy retail traders, that you're going to chop it back and forth in a range. So I'm concerned that a range is coming. Makes sense? Yeah, well, they seem to be consolidating okay here at the 74 area.
Gary Rich says the reinfection rates are BS. But the markets react to the news. I react and respond to the news. Chop chop rinse repeat in ranges.
Well, it's definitely what's
Vincenzo
been moving
C
us.
says thumbs up.
Well, actually, we should be careful with that one though, right, Gary? Because it is it does appear to be moving the markets, but it may end up that exaggerating the markets may end up exaggerating it just because of the positioning, because so many people were long, and then you see some reinfection rates. The market may come down more than the traders are actually concerned about it, simply because they're forced to sell. But that's kind of where a day like today kind of ends up being important, because today is likely to be like a relatively mild inside day. Inside day up. And if they do that, then that would be the signal for people that, hey, sure, there's some bad things going on, but it's not the end of the world. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I just think that for the time being, that below 71 or so is too low. Let's see what they do. Okay. I'm wondering if I'm getting VWAP here.
Gary Rich says Fed Powell said it all on WED. The Eurodollar's futures priced this in months ago. No hikes till possibly 2022 deck.
I'm gonna try that. See if it shows me anything. Them treasuries ticking up. Whoa. Okay, something just happened there. They're buying it. Could maybe add another contract, but I think that because of the way that that just moved, that I don't want to. Something just happened there. Maybe if I wasn't in, I might have gotten in there though. That was odd movement. So some more.
Vincenzo C. says my Paysons here in Philly are trying to protect the last Columbus statue.
Is it the last Columbus statue? You know what? I don't get it, to be honest. Like, I get that angry mob and they're protesting and they're gonna want to take the statue down, but I don't get some people think it's so absolutely vital to keep them. Like, if there's that many people that are upset by it, then just get rid of the statue. Tulsa health director wishes President Trump would postpone his rally because of spike in local coronavirus cases. Is that where his first one is going to be? Is in Tulsa? Why would it be in Tulsa? Well, here they're buying it up to the top of the range again. Cool.
Uzi Knesset says by that logic, if there's that many people upset about police killings, we should get rid of police too. No good gesture.
Okay, wait. That's not a valid comparison because what is it's because
Sunday Driver says give in to the mob. Never a good thing.
There's a question that so I think you misunderstood my point. What is the downside of getting rid of the statue? Okay, if you get rid of the police, the downside is there will be lawlessness and disorder, and we'll all be less safe. Okay, but for this statue, a lot of people want the statue gone. If we get rid of the statue, what is the bad thing that's going to happen? I just don't see it. I just don't see what it is that about it that is so vital and important to protect. That people are willing to like go out there with guns and protect the statue. Like, why is that so important to you? I don't see it. What is the downside here? Seems to me like a high risk, low reward trade.
Uzi Knesset says they keep moving. Find more things to get rid of.
So,
We're giving inches and they will take miles.
They always take everything, dude. Doesn't matter if you stop them or not. They're not going to stop trying to get rid of things. Or, complaining about stuff, I guess. Doesn't matter if you get rid of the statue or not. That doesn't change the situation at all. Well, short term. The problem is you try and protect the statue and then something bad happens, right? Because what if somebody died over defending a Christopher Columbus statue? I don't think that would look very good for the
Vincenzo
right.
C. says Queen Isabella financed his trip. Blame Spain. Uzi Knesset says personally, I think it's funny that white supremacists with guns are the things CNN tells us we should be terrified of and no one is stopping the communists at all. Not even the government.
This thing in Seattle is super alarming to me.
Sunday
right?
Driver says Christopher Columbus was a great man and should be on Mount Rushmore.
I don't get what's so great about him. The the thing in Seattle is like the media is like really trying to pretend that it's not happening. I guess it's because it's a bunch of hippies and maybe it's really not that big of a
Nicholas
deal.
Brown says you give an inch, they will want a mile.
But to me, it's super triggering. This is essentially a communist rebellion happening in a U.S. city, and they're not doing anything about it. That bothers me so much. That bothers me so very much. Because now I'm sitting here like, okay, when the real communist rebellion happens, government's not going to protect me and my property. That's what they're saying.
Uzi Knesset says
Bothers
on
me
the
so
internet,
much.
all you see is right-wingers talking shit, but in the real world, they're spineless pot-bellied fun shooters.
That could
Leftists
be.
are willing to risk their lives. That's why they get what they want.
I don't know if that's true.
Gary Rich says take a read at this.
That's a theory. I don't know if I can prove that one. There's a lot of people on the right that are willing to risk their lives for things. It's just that they haven't picked the thing yet that they're willing to risk their lives for. Ooh, I like that. Thank you very much, Gary. I don't know if now is the best time for me to read that because it looks like pretty heavy reading, but I will definitely do that today or maybe tonight. Ooh, I'm liking this area of pivots here. This is about where I was looking to take it off. In fact, I think I'll take 84 because that's a nice, good, even spot. Oh, I hope that they don't come a little short of it. Usually they go through all of these pivots though. So, come on. Oh, you can do it. Come on. You've got it.
Uzi Knesset says right-wingers don't and won't defend shit. They fear consequences. They have too much to lose. The leftists don't. If the government were to ban all guns tomorrow, most right-wingers would turn them in.
I mean, but that's the whole thing. Is there something that has happened in the past 10 years that you felt like if you were in the situation that you should have gone and given your life for? Because I can't think of it. I can't think of any such thing. It's just they're always kind of incremental and they're always kind of pushing the social issues. I'm not gonna risk my life over a cultural issue. Who gives a fuck? Like seriously. If the battle is over whether there's a statue somewhere or not, I'm not gonna risk my life for a statue. I'm sorry. I'm not. I think that's dumb. Maybe other people think differently. I think it would be dumb to risk my life for a statue, right? But if my city was going to be taken over by communists, and I mean they were
Nicholas
really
Brown
being
says
taken
over
over
my
by
dead body I would
communists.
turn them in. Not at all.
So then it kind of turns into this like how serious of it is it? Because if I thought there was a communist revolution in the United States, I would 100% be willing to give my life to stop that. Because that is my family and all my future generations. I do not want them to have to live under communism. I would put a stop to that, right? But nothing's happened that's
RJ
serious
Wheels
enough.
says I'm not even gonna put a teddy bear or flowers at the lobby of a dead celebrity.
Sunday Driver says I think the 2A could be a deciding factor. Even in NY most people did not turn in their assault weapons.
Sure, it could be.
Uzi Knesset says exactly. History and culture are worthless. Not worth fighting for. We should just give in to the communists since we won't stop them from conquering and torching our cities.
It just requires a proportional response, right? Like if communists are taking over Seattle, I don't know. It just doesn't seem serious. It's like a few city blocks, it's a couple of hippies. They're probably going to get bored and go away, okay? If they were like forming a standing army and starting to like take over other areas, then I'm going to be like woke, you know? That's when the eyes light up, right? Big glowing coronas come out of them and everything. Okay, but as it is right now, meh. Maybe I'll post on Facebook about it. Maybe I'll mention it in the stream. It's a hard thing because there's no easy answer to this, right? How much is too much? This is why this is an effective tactic. Is you kind of get to push and then see how much people care. I think that they're starting that they are going to run into the spot. I think that taking over a city is too much. I think that people are going to not like that so much, and I think it's going to hurt them. I think that if I was in Seattle, I would not be voting for that mayor again. I think that if I lived anywhere in Washington, there's no way I'd be voting for that governor again. And you know what? The leftists don't like either of them either. So I don't think those people are going to get reelected. Okay, but I don't know. I get what the feeling is, but I'm just trying to look at it from like risk reward
Vincenzo
perspective.
C says I just don't like mob rule no matter what the issue. Our local news media here are calling the anti-tear down protesters vigilantes.
Oh, it's not fair coverage, is it? It never is. It's always not. Well, I don't really need to go into it. Everybody's heard this argument a trillion times.
No bias there.
We all know the whole thing about bias in the media and stuff. Oh, that reminds me, I had this thing on Reddit that I wanted to respond to. There's this guy, and he was complaining about the Donald censoring people. And it was like, it's hypocritical. And I'm like, well, it's not hypocritical if you never said that you were going to be a free and open platform, right? Like, it's when you claim that you're an open platform and then you don't
Sunday
act
Driver
in an
says,
open
will
way.
the Minneapolis City Council get outvoted and replaced in the coming elections?
Probably.
Uzi Knesset says that Vincenzo C. Media handles narratives differently for right and left. For the last 2 weeks, protesting has been encouraged, even by health officials. Now that those are dying down, COVID is bad again.
Well, they kind of picked exactly the right spot where everybody was starting to think that COVID wasn't really a big threat to them anymore. And now you're starting to see the spike in cases and everybody's getting woke again. The eyes light up, I never saw anything. I don't know.
Uzi Knesset says it's all a big joke. RJ Wheel says I'd say the equivalent of 3 jumbo jets crashing every day is serious. Vincenzo C says I see it, Uzi.
Something that I like about that last trade was that I saw that spot where like they were going to take off and go back up for the highs, and I could have taken another one and would have worked out in that. That make me happy.
Uzi Knesset says at RJ Wheel that happens with or without COVID. Normally, no one is pumping those numbers into your eyes and ears, so you don't usually think about it.
Yeah. Well, the fun, it's something that's so interesting. Like I'm always interested in media and people and how people, that's always been my thing. And especially politics. And I think that that's part of why I like trading in the way that I trade. But this is a situation where I kind of feel like most people kind of got lost. You know what I mean? Like there was so many statistics and it was constantly changing. And this was one of the first times where I think a lot of people sat down and said, you know what? I don't really understand what's going on.
Vincenzo C says I heard there was a vigilante posse on South Street but saw no horses. Vincenzo C says so I left.
Scott Adams today is going to calculate reparations. They're going to calculate what they need for reparations. How to fix everything that is broken. Okay, good luck with that, Scott.
Says, think about it. Do we really need to know the real-time infection, hospitalization, and death counts for COVID? Knowing it's out there isn't enough? Warnings and precautions aren't good enough?
Sure it does.
Uzi Knesset says you have to know who's infected, who's dead, and how close they were to you. Come on.
I think you do, because you don't want the hospital capacity to be breached, because then the death rate spikes like exponentially. And so they have to know all of this data to try and predict what's going to happen, to see how serious of distancing measures are necessary. I think we've come down to the spot where we've realized
Gary Rich
that
says
they aren't necessary.
0.00% for reparations. No one is still alive for them.
You'd have to go and watch Scott's stream. Did you see this? You know what? This is something that bothers me greatly. This really bothers me greatly. So they were in the Chaz. One of the things that they said was, if you want to make a difference, if you're going to do a difference right now, then find a black person and give them $10. Was what they were saying. And I if I was, let's say that I was, me, but different skin color. Okay. Right. And somebody said that to me, and they said, well, I'm going to give you $10 because, for reparations or whatever. I would be so fucking offended. I would probably take the money, but I would give you a mouthful. Like, that is so offensive. I don't want people's money as a charity. Fuck that. People give me money on stream, the donations. I always feel a little uncomfortable about getting donations, but like, we're providing something. There's entertainment. Sometimes we provide good information. Let them go more. That's great. I feel like I've earned it. But this whole thing of like, just give people money, you're just gonna create a dependent class of people. That's so fucking offensive to me. I can't believe that people would let other people talk to them like that. Oh, you're too helpless to fix your own situation in life. We have to give you money. That is so fucking offensive. Am I the only person that sees it that way? I just can't believe that they let them, what is the word, patronize them like that. I can't believe that anybody would let other people patronize them like that. It's so offensive. It's racist.
Uzi Knesset says white leftists are white supremacists that feel guilty about it.
Maybe you're right about that one, Uzi. That's another one that we can't prove, but you know what? I think you might be. I kind of feel you on that one. Or well, like Joe Biden. Like let's talk about Joe Biden again. Is Joe Biden a white supremacist? I don't think he is. But he sure said things that was kind of in line with what the white supremacists want, because he said, I don't want my children to grow up in a racial jungle. Right? I don't think he feels that way now. I think that he kind of was caught up in the politics of the time and now regrets what he did. That's what I think probably is the case. But politically, it doesn't matter. Politically, you just tell him that he said that thing and it hurts him, right? Bankrupt Hertz warns buyers they'll need a miracle to avoid a total loss as bonds value equity at negative $2 million. Quick, everybody buy Hertz shares. That's what that means. Don't do that. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Listen, especially when it comes to stocks, like that stock that everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about it. It's too late. You missed it. Move on.
Uzi Knesset says you can't believe the things white leftists believe without first believing whites are inherently superior. Think about it.
I'm not so sure that that's... You're going to have to give an example. Kudlow says there are relatively small bumps in infection rate. Kudlow says infection is something we have to get used to. Well, he's right about that. How high do you think this can go, boys? Well, we would have to get above... Well, basically 3,000 is kind of the target, isn't it? That's the next spot for them to try and take out. I just wanted the spot in the volume profile. I'm pretty happy with where I got at it.
Uzi Knesset says if whites are responsible for all that befalls blacks in America, is that not indicative of an omnipresent power and influence?
Okay, so no. So they believe that white people's past sins have led black people to be in a state that not necessarily that blacks are inherently inferior or anything like that, but that because of their cultural position, they are not in a very good position to help themselves. They're basically saying, you have people that are poor, and because they're poor, they're going to share, you know, they're going to pass those attitudes on to their kids, and they're going to pass that on to their kids. And so it's really hard to help yourself. That doesn't say anything about whether, one group of people is inherently better than the other because of genes or something like that. Right. Does that not hold true for all poor people, regardless of race? Absolutely does, Uzi. 100%. Yeah, totally does. Totally does. But if I was to make a big deal about poor white people, white trash, and we need to get them out of the poverty cycle, probably wouldn't get the media attention for that, would I? Because people are tribal. People pay attention to the news because it's tribal. Like think of this, okay? Going back to the Chaz, okay? What if this was in Texas? What if there was a communist takeover of a couple of city blocks of Houston, right? It would be a completely different situation, right? Right now, it's like it's in Seattle, and those are the leftists, and like who, that's their people's problems. Or you hear this one, they say, was a Democrat governor and a Democrat mayor and a Democrat police chief and a Democrat police killing a Democrat voter. And why is that our problem? It's the tribal nature of it, right? But as soon as it's happening in your tribe, like if it was happening in Texas or it was happening in Florida, then all of a sudden the eyes light up, right? Because now it's affecting your tribe. That's just the way that people think, as awful as it is. Okay, Gary's giving me more good shit. I appreciate it, Gary. I I love it when you post stuff like this because I feel it's like, oh, I've been reading this stuff and I'm understanding stuff, and he thinks that I'm ready for more. I appreciate it. What is Oh, this is Chewy. Don't tell him I said this, but he left the position open over the weekend, and it probably opened up lower, and he might still have it in, but I think that's dumb. That is really dumb. Don't hold positions over the weekend, guys. But what did he say? Unfilled gap at 3036. No reason that they have to fill that. 3,000 is a good spot, though. Maybe they'll clear. Who knows? Maybe they'll fill it. We're beyond my predictive powers now at this point, right? Like 3,000 is going to be a spot they want to go to, and I don't know if they'll make it or not, or if they go past it or what. I'm happy with my initial call, though. How much did I lose? Was not really happy with that trading because I had to lose like what 4 times to make it work. Well, it came out in the end, but geez, guys, that was bad trading. I didn't really need to take any of that, did I? If I had just waited for the clickety click click. So, what are our targets today? That might tell us something. And anytime that we have some of these political conversations, I'm always thinking afterwards, and I'm like, was I don't know what is the word, compassionate enough on things? Because I have a really hard time with it. Like some people are like really concerned about things then, and I think that maybe they are being, having their leg pulled. They're being manipulated a little bit. And how do you go about addressing something like that without being insensitive to the people that are really concerned about those things? I'm always, I hope that I'm piloting my way through that minefield effectively. Okay. So volatility is actually still pretty high. It's almost 40. Actually started above 40 and came down. And the upside target is 3,000. Downside is 2932. So they're reaching the upside target. I don't know. If they were to just stop at 3,000, then that would be an inside day. Still a lot of concern. They could sell tomorrow and it could be really bad. If we come up to 330, then that would be a little bit more positive. And if they're thinking maybe we've already bottomed and we're about to go back up. But even then, that's still a little sketchy. Curious times we live in, folks. Let's come back to Twitter. Donald Trump. Our testing is so much bigger and more advanced than any other country. We have done a great job on this, that it shows more cases. Without testing or weak testing, we would be showing almost no cases. Testing is a double-edged sword, makes us look bad, but good to have. Oh.
Vincenzo C. says you're quite judicious in what you say, Seth, and anyone offended is looking to be offended.
No, thanks. I try. I think maybe I might be a little, I would hope at least. This is one of those things where it's like, well, you don't want to be egotistical, but I hope that I'm a little better at it than most, because most of my friends are like far leftists. All my rave buddies, they are totally off there. Some of them are completely I don't want to say brainwashed, but they're triggered by Donald Trump like to the max, And so I've always, when I'm posting on Facebook, I'm always thinking about them, and I'm always thinking, okay, so what are the things that I can say that would be like the most convincing to them? I don't want, I want to hit them. I want to fight a little bit, and I want to push back and get them to think, but I don't necessarily want them to completely hate me. That's where I look at. And then I look at other people like, man, there was this thing where this guy, he had a picture, somebody had got hit in the eye with a rubber bullet, and they gave the comment bullseye, and I was like, so that is so offensive to me. Man, you're just a real asshole. You saying that. Like, that's the sort of a thing that you post on 4chan when you're anonymous. And I would never. That is just so awful. But people might say things like that and make jokes like that, and some people might not really think it's a big deal. They just think, oh, it's just a joke. Ugh, that one was bad. But then here's another one that is kind of a little bit more neutral. Was that there was a guy who worked for who was it? I think it was Riot Games. I think he was working for Riot Games, and he posted a picture talking about how George Floyd was, on drugs and this and that. And he specifically said, before he was like, it doesn't justify him being killed, but like he was on drugs, guys, and like that matters. When you're talking about how we should go forward with police enforcement in the United States, the fact that he was on drugs and was a danger to the public is absolutely a relevant point, right? Anyways, it was like holding up a deal. Like some other company saw that he had tweeted that and were really offended by it, and the company fired him. This was an image macro that I've seen other people on my Facebook post. And it's like, even if you try your hardest, people can come in and be offended by it, can't they? Ding, ding, ding. More about 24-hour fitness files for bankruptcy. Good riddance. Fed's George says he expects slow, steady progress as economy reopens. How a volcanic eruption led to the birth of the bicycle. Oh, that sounds interesting, but I don't think I'm going to read that one. Futures Trader 71 stating that his scenario 1 in play this morning. Let's see a picture of what he was looking at. He said the scenario 1 was a rise up to... can't see. Maybe I can open it in another tab and zoom in on it. Yeah. Oh, right to where it did, to 3,000. So he's saying it's going to move up to 3,000 and then fall back down to 29.65. So is he suggesting that we go short here? Well, we didn't quite touch 3,000.
Sunday Driver says a significant portion of the black activist establishment doesn't want police. The toadies on the far left dance to their tune and are getting rid of police. This is an indicator of dark times ahead.
It could be. Well, I mean, I don't think the Republican cities are going to do it, but Democrat cities probably aren't going to be as safe. For sure. And then they'll try and blame it on Republicans. This is one that kind of bothered. They kind of reminded me of something else that I've been seeing a lot that I just don't think is accurate. When they say that the party switched. So what they really mean from the party switched was like, yes, the Republicans were the not racist ones for the long, long time, but then Richard Nixon came along and they switched, and then Republicans became the racist ones. This is just not true. This is just not the way that it worked, because the switch was not okay. We are going to become a racist party now because we want these voters in the South, and that's how we're going to win. That is not how it happened, guys. That is not what happened. Here's what happened, okay? Lyndon B. Johnson was an awful president, and he handled the Vietnam War poorly. We did not have very clear goals when we were going in there. We were just sending people in there to die, and the local government that we were supporting wasn't a very good government, and it was just a complete effing mess. And his own party disliked it. So it developed a protest movement essentially against their own party. But because it was their own party, it was always a little bit like they couldn't do anything because it was their own guy. So they could get in protest and everything, but they couldn't get out and be like, LBJ is a bad president, let's get rid of him and vote him out. That wasn't going to happen. So LBJ disappears. All right. When LBJ disappears, now you have the opportunity. Okay, now it's not our guy. Now it's Richard Nixon. We don't like Richard Nixon, so we can go out and we can be like really, really, in 1969, the protests and the rioting and stuff was like really extreme, even more extreme than now in some respects. Okay, and so Richard Nixon, he realized that the real thing here was between law and order or not law and order. Well, it happens to be the case that because the majority of crime is committed by African Americans, statistically speaking, when you're going to say that you're pro law and order, it's kind of like anti-black in some people's minds. So the Republican Party has never gone in and said, "Oh, well, we're racist now." I mean, never. Nobody's ever professed that, right? But it all came down to that switch between law and order. Now, this is important going into the next election, right? Because it is the same argument essentially, right? It's a question between, you know, there are disadvantaged people in our society, certainly the case, and bad things can happen, and there are things that we can do, but then there's this other side of it, which is that we still have to have law and order. And historically, what wins? Law and order wins, right? This is such a strong driver of people's behavior that it got Richard Nixon reelected. Like, really? How did Richard Nixon win a second term? Right? It's because of all this crazy stuff that they were doing. That's why it's relevant. So when people want to say that the party switched, well, it was much more nuanced than that. And when you look at the nuance for it, it doesn't speak well for Democrats, does it? Bot says, have a great trading day. Best of luck. Yeah, thank you. I did all those indicators work well for you? I think I'm done. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to turn back down. It's totally possible. Chewie's still long. Dude.
Gary Rich says latest dates by NY Fed. IOER. Scroll to previous periods, click. The NY Fed needs to keep the wheels rolling.
Okay. Scroll to previous periods. Previous periods. Uh-huh. Oh. These are their repurchase operations. Well, it's always been 500 million though. But this is you're definitely, I think what you're trying to say is something that I've noticed. Like, we had this fallout where the government was buying bonds, and then they stopped buying them. And when they stopped buying them, all of the treasuries fell down and the interest rates increased. And then as soon as that happened, we got the Federal Reserve came out, and they came in and they're like, well, we're going to have to continue the purchases at least to X amount. And so that whole move that the market had made was a temporary thing that had to reverse, because we all realized that the government is going to have to continue to buy the bonds, essentially, right? This week they show how much over IOFR they will bid. We're talking about this next one for the Thursday on the 11th, right? The desk plans to conduct overnight repo operations on each business day, a series of term repo operations. And I'm assuming that the aggregate operation limit is going to be 500 million, right? Billion, right? Sure. So at the very least, I don't know if that necessarily means that the equity market has to stay afloat or move up or not, but it does mean that bonds are extremely unlikely to fall out here, right? Other people are picking up on it. Yeah. Well, saying with the high VIX, a wide stop of 100 points are needed. Jeez.
Gary Rich says the overnight rate needs help to keep liquidity for banks.
Sure. And it's not even just because of the coronavirus thing, right? There was like a lack of liquidity in the market anyways. For sure. Well, 100 points. That's like $5,000, right? Am I like, do I need to pull my calculator out? That shouldn't be 10 points is $50 times 10. Oh, it's 500 on a micro, and on a full, it would be 5,000 times multiple ones. Yes, last February was clear the banks or prime dealers wanted more, but the Fed didn't. Yeah. And then there was they totally flipped out, right? Was it in February that? Let's come back and look here. I need to look at a chart. Daily ZN. Yeah, it was in February. When they just spiked up like cray cray. Oh, you meant 2019 February. Sure. Yeah, no, but I still get what you're talking even earlier than that. But yeah, because we were moving up in the bonds long before the crisis, like this crisis happened. They were moving up. And we were saying, well, are we ready for another recession, or like is the yield curve inverting going to mean that there's going to be a recession? And I think the answer is still no. I don't think that there would have been a recession without coronavirus, but who knows? Who knows? We didn't really get to see the end of that, didn't we? So yeah. Anyways, point is that the market moved up because they needed more liquidity. And it's kind of crazy to think that as much as doing the repo operations and all of that stuff, and they still didn't have enough. When the 10-year broke 1%, it was trouble to come for sure. Well, I think that there's this thing where there's a lot of different things in our system set up. It seems to me, at least, that there's a number of things in the system that haven't been accounted for. And all of a sudden we're realizing with the way that we set up that you have to have a ton of treasuries out there for banks to be able to hedge themselves against their normal business activity. And when you have that many treasuries floating around there, there's consequences to that aren't necessarily good, are they? It's or like, I know there's a problem, but then it gets into stuff where it's like beyond my ability to see like what happens. Because I don't think that it just like blows up, but it's always more complicated than that. Can they just keep it going forever and ever and ever? Is it the case that because the banks need them, the governments can get away with the larger deficit? I don't know. It's all very interesting, though. VIX is at 65. Value of the position. Yeah, so then you don't take the trade, dude. Man, I'm not going to do it. I've been in an argumentative mood the past couple of weeks, but I'm just reading this thing in Discord and I'm not going to do it. Don't risk more than 1% of your account. Well, let me rephrase. If you have $100,000 in your account and you're risking more than 1% of it on a trade, maybe you're doing some things that you shouldn't. And not only that, but the amount of risk that he's taking on compared to where he wants it to go is really extreme. He's basically risking 100 handles. I just don't think that you need 100 handles to know if you're wrong on a trade. Yeah. This guy, he's made some good trades, but I've kind of been watching him, and what he's been doing is he's not letting go of his losers. So he holds on to it. And then
Gary Rich says the primary dealers drain their liquidity and pass to Fed balance sheet. Then rebuy treasuries and play this game over and over. It's amazing.
oh yeah, like they're taking them and then they're selling it immediately back to the treasury. And they said that 100% of the treasuries given out this year have been monetized by the Fed. Like that is like, yeah, unless you're swinging for 300 handles. Well, he'll learn. He'll learn. I probably go enough, like I probably sound like I'm all over the place. There's a conversation going on in
Gary
the
Rich
equity
says Jim
indexes
Bianco
channel.
explained this liquidity drain in Phil.
Okay. So I understand that, but then my question is, how do I use that information to determine where flows in the money markets are going to be on a day-to-day basis? Are we saying that the Federal Reserve is just going to continue to pump money through the system and that we're likely to recover this and move back up? Or is it just background information to understand the other things? Excuse me. I'm going back and forth between talking to Gary here and reading this conversation in the Equity Indexes channel of Discord, where somebody held something overnight and is down on the position and is still holding it. And I don't know. I mean, maybe they should be holding it at this point, but I think that they're well past the
Gary
point
Rich
at which
says
they
it's
should have
getting
given
very
up.
hard to gauge the moves in assets. The rules change on the fly.
That's true. Well, I feel like that I've been able to make pretty good calls just based off of sentiment. Like, well, I take that back because I've been favoring longs for sure. On Thursday and Friday, I actually made money on longs. I think it was on Thursday that I bought and I made what I was looking for and then quit and then they got killed later. But for the most part, I've been able to pick the day direction pretty well. So there's kind of a combination of understanding where the auction structure has been and what the volatility targets are, and then looking at what the sentiment is and what they're looking at overnight. Whether what they're looking at really matters or not, right? So like right today, my thinking was, well, there's a lot of coronavirus risk off stuff, but coronavirus second wave doesn't necessarily mean anything because it only means something if people have to close things down again. And right now, I don't see any indication that they're going to. So you can see risk off sentiment that may be somewhat limited and will pull back. And so we played the pullback and it worked. And the volume was confirming what I was thinking the whole time, right? Like even when they were selling down, I wasn't seeing the cumulative delta decrease. They were buying it the whole way. That's why I did it like 4 times in a row, despite which was really dumb, by the way. And I don't think I would have done that if I wasn't on my experimentation account today. But so I've been playing it like that, and that's how I've been doing it. It's been working out pretty well for me. But
Gary Rich says tour was such orderly sell-off. Friday morning, Euro, was a huge fake out, NY Open just backfilled down.
right. So what's been going on in the currencies is super interesting. And I don't understand currency flows a lot, but like the dollar has been strengthening back up again. The euro has been pretty strong, but like they came back, right? Where was it? Do I not have that? I guess I don't have that one. I had a chart, a longer term chart for the euro up, but I'm too lazy to go and make one now. But you're right. Well, like the kind of sell off that we saw on Thursday, those concern me when I see those, because one, they went well past what our targets were. So I kind of look at the targets like those are still something that in certain situations you don't know if they're going to hit it or not. But if they hit it and how far do they go past target 2 tells you a lot about how uh, how much the market thinks about the change, right? Essentially, they were already triggered. VIX was already high, and we still outperformed the implied volatility. But was the exit chaotic? Only at the very end, only below 3,000. The majority of that move was really quite orderly and just trended and trended and trended. Those are really ugly. The ones that you want to worry about is when it starts doing that. You get like a big down and then like it starts moving down and it's just a little bit every day. Just a little bit every day. And it's just like strong trend down, but just a little bit every day. Those are the worst, right? That's a freight train that's just gonna keep going. And you get something that's super crazy that gives the opportunity for it to flip around, you know? Hmm. That's how I tend to approach it, at least. When I see something, when I see market action that's a little bit too crazy and I kind of try and judge the context of it, I'm always thinking, okay, we're moving down and all of a sudden I get like a goes down even further and zigzags back and forth across. I'm taking it off right there. Something happened. somebody might have been stopped out or somebody's upset.
Gary Rich says this for panic fears and Fed saying challenges into 2022. The dollar got strong a bit, 10 years backed off from 90 BP, etc.
Right. Well, I think that the Treasury's coming back up makes sense. I kind of thought when they were falling down a little bit, I was like, well, is it things really that great? Because for them to be moving down like this, you kind of have to start to wonder, like, are they going to actually think about raising interest rates next year or something? Like, But then the Federal Reserve came out and I think pretty much just put a stop to that whole line of thought. It was curious because the other thing is like when I watched that meeting, I remember immediately afterwards I tweeted, like it's there on the tweets. It's like buy all the things, and you know what? They did buy all the things. They kind of sputtered out in the end, but it was buy all the things except for the dollar, because you're gonna need the dollar to buy all the things. But then, yeah, it flipped around on us, didn't it? It's kind of this is where I think that going back to my picture, I have this picture. Where's the picture? Have it as a picture at least. Well, anyway, I have a picture of like the different parts of the market, and one of the things that I was showing is that there's, you've got the market generated information, but the true landscape that comes in, that everything is based off of is fundamentals. And I think that the mistake that retail traders make is that we want to only look at the market generated information because it's hard to understand the rest of the market. We don't really have a whole lot of access to that information. I think that's the mistake that we make in the retail trading world, is trying to only rely on market generated data. But I think that when you look at the people that are like doing the fundamentals, and you look at those guys, and they're maybe only win like 50% of the time too, right? And I think the mistake that they make is that they don't look at the positionings and
Gary
the
Rich
behavior
says
of the
yep,
market.
Thursday night, Euro, lead the way down, and NY Hammer jacked it down.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if the Euro doesn't really have a super clear direction right now, does it? I can't see far back enough on this chart. I should I'm going to do it. Show tabs. I'm going to duplicate in a new window. Oh, not in a new window, in a new tab. Duplicate in a new tab. And then I want to see 60-minute bars, let's say. Sure, 60-minute bars.
Gary Rich says I meant European session.
Right. Oh, okay. Come back 180 days, let's say. See if I can get it to load. That might be a little extreme. That's a lot of data and charts to load. Well, they made a lower low. Now they're testing the high, and they're testing the ATR stop. I'm not so. It was starting to turn down. Like, hey, maybe we're just gonna go all the way back down. But it seems to me like that they are finding some value around 3,000. So we might go to 3,000. We might even be able to push up a little bit more and then come back to it. Oh, wait. Why does it have tick replay on? Put a stop to that.
Gary Rich says if you notice every time the euro, GBP, yen move up based on news or stimmy they can't hold and sustain.
Yes. 100%. I guess that's the thing that confuses me. They can't seem to pick up a trend. I guess because we're not out of the woods. That 5-year just took a dive there. They took a dive. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he believes the UK has a very good chance of securing a trade deal with the EU by the end of the year, provided we really focus now and get on and do it. All right. Well, they came right back up there to the highs really easily. The 10-year isn't at its lows of the session, but the 5-year is. How is that? Oh, the 10-year started down. This was the low, was the open. Look at that big order at 24. You think that they're trying to move there? They're definitely starting to show some risk on behavior again. Like everybody's like, okay, like that was the worst of it's over. We can buy again. I don't know. I'm still of the opinion. I'm still of the opinion that when you get a day like that just destroys everybody, you're gonna have to probably what's gonna happen. Of course, the context can change, but based on the way the current trends, I think that what happens is this comes up to here maybe, and then maybe you have another day like this, and then we come down, right? And probably we come down to here, and then we can see. And then I don't know if it goes up there or if it goes back down again. And that's kind of my guesstimate. Well, they backed off of the 3,000 again. They getting up there, but they give it up really quickly too. There's some people that really want to sell it there. Donald Trump tweeted Law and Order. I missed that one. Man, I feel like I don't know. Normally we go till 9:30, but I'm kind of feeling like we're done already. I guess we should stick around because, well, who knows what happens.
Gary Rich says the 10 years wants to range between 139.42 to 137.45.
Yeah, there's plenty of area on the downside for them to chop around. Oh my, some of the people. So I got these people that they've been. Why am I reading this? I shouldn't even. I'm not even going to tell you what I was looking at. They were doing the friend list culling. They're growing up. I'm so proud. That's when you know that you've grown up, is when you delete half of your Facebook friends list. I never grew up. Oh man. De Blasio ripped by quarantined New Yorkers after marching in East Harlem protests. Okay. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, show me the man and I will find you the crime. When you have a potential enemies and you are not free like Carlos Ghosn, be paranoid. What's this? What are they talking about? Nissan email trial casts new light on takedown of Carlos Ghosn. Well, there's 3,000. They took that one pretty handily, didn't they? Or is there going to be some puking here? Mm. Mm. That move starting from 2980 back up here was pretty impressive, wasn't it? Just looking at it, the way that it trended up was like almost no stopping. Could have bought it down there. That was below where my initial take profit was. And that was another 10, 12 points. Let's see here. What's this one? They're talking about this Supreme Court case. Those who adopted the Civil Rights Act might not have anticipated their work would lead to this particular result. Likely, they weren't thinking about many of the act's consequences that have become apparent over the years, including its prohibition against discrimination on the basis of motherhood or its ban on the sexual harassment of male employees. But the limits of the drafter's imagination supply no reason to ignore the law's demands. When the express terms of the statute give us one answer and extra textual considerations suggest another one, it's no context. Only the written word is the law, and all persons are entitled to its benefit. Hmm. I don't see the political blogs picking up against it. But anyways. So now they're kind of building at 3. I think we could spend some time here still. Stock speculation signals dangerous trend. Ooh. I feel a little I don't know, low energy today. That's okay. We can take care of that. Maybe I can go let's see here. think it will. I think I need to go to the store. So I think I will just end early because I mean, we hit the 3,000 and I can't really say anything beyond that. So I think the right move is to just call it a day and be happy with what we got, even though it was on the experimental account, and, you know, see where tomorrow brings us. Okay. Thank you for all of the links, Gary. I'll be sure to read all that today. And tomorrow should be an interesting day for sure. So see you guys then. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.